Bill,
Thank you.
special day. We have Bill Marriott through Tom Marriott is here, and we're grateful for Tom's help and Bill coming here. I won't go around the room again, but those of you that have not been here and are here as guests, that's terrific. If you want to come back, that's also terrific. So,
Bring your camera.
yes.
Or good.
I've asked the guy that knows the most about Bill to make a couple of comments about his brother.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, he knows.
I
He knows.
didn't know that was part of
He knows all the secrets.
All right.
What a pleasure to introduce my beautiful brother, who's also my really great friend. So we all grew up in Buffalo, and Bill graduated from SUNY State University of New York in Buffalo in 1973, and his interest had been film and folklore. And he had decided on an academic career in folklore, and he had to go to graduate school, so where else would you go but Memorial University in St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada.
They have it here.
Which actually is a very,
They have that program here.
they have a terrific program.
I couldn't get in this one. Seriously.
My daughter's in this one.
Yeah, so anyway, they pop up to Toronto and then take off to Newfoundland for, I guess, the rest of their lives. And that's Bill and Lori, by
Yeah.
the way, his now wife. Anyway.
Might as well have been back then. too.
Yes, right. So
High school
off
sweet.
they go to St. John's, which I think is probably the furthest east city in North America. So off they go, and they go to land, and they get the message, no, we're not landing. The weather is too bad. And this is probably August.
August, yeah.
Oh, my
The
God.
weather is, no, you can't land here. So fortunately, there's enough fuel. Back they go to Toronto. Land. Lori calls home and says, look, we couldn't make it, so we're going to go tomorrow. They get in the plane again the next day, take off for St. John's, all the way out there in the North Atlantic. They get there, the weather is worse. No landing, back to Toronto. Another phone call home. Mom, we couldn't leave, but we're going to go tomorrow. And she said, well, look, in the meantime, you've gotten a phone call from Durham's, North Carolina school
Actually,
system.
Pittsburgh. No, you're right.
Durham, North Carolina school system, and they've offered you a teaching job.
Wow.
And so they, in the meantime, we found out that this is not an anomaly up there in Newfoundland. This is perfectly normal. And they decide, let's cash in the tickets. They swap the tickets for tickets to RDU and move to Durham and then live here ever since. Wow.
That's a great
So
story.
that's one story. Bill, they came back. Lori wound up teaching Durham city schools for 35 years.
Wow.
Or Durham schools. And Bill went to UNC grad school in the educational media department in part of the School of Education at UNC, got a degree there, and took a job at GTE, which was then a big telecom company, which has since morphed into Verizon. And he worked there keeping the linemen safe and sound, making videos,
Keep coming.
producing, directing, and designing video presentations for instructional use at GTE. He worked there for several years and then took a job at SAS, and now I'm going to read you about that.
SAS.
At SAS Institute in Cary, North Carolina, as the head of a nascent video department. Software training was a major component of that department mission, but as SAS grew to an international scale and as communication with SAS users grew more complex, SAS user group meetings grew to a remarkable large scale, and the production of these events fell largely on to Bill and his department. One element of these productions was typically a video presentation of key features of the host city. This meant that Bill and his terrific crew shot video on the streets of practically every major city in the world. So I guess I can say that my little brother is a world-class street person. So now he's retired and has swapped the van loads of equipment for his sweet Sony mirrorless and has hit the streets on his own terms. He has produced some lovely photo essays shot in Buffalo and Durham, and he's also taken 2 workshops with notable street shooter Valerie Jardin in Paris and in Normandy. So that's enough from him, and let's see what see and hear what he's found for us in India.
Wow. Hang on to that. I'll probably have a funeral coming up pretty soon. That'd be ideal. That'd be ideal. Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here. Tom said, come over. It's a small photo group, about 4 or 5 people. It's
grown.
Looks like it's expanded. But so I do tend to mumble quite a bit. So if you have trouble hearing me, particularly in the back, just say, hey, speak up, or something like that. But,
Do you want a microphone, Bill?
It should be picking up here, but
Yeah.
if we have a microphone to pass around, if the,
Oh, very good.
yeah.
Yeah, and that won't help with the mumbling. Anyway, so I didn't know exactly how to prepare for this, so Tom said we'll just show a bunch of pictures, so that's what I'll do. But I do want to tell you my interest today in retirement is street photography, and I was a member of a group much like this one where I think we had photo challenges, and so every week or every 2 weeks it would be a different challenge, and I did that for really, I guess, 4 or 5 years, and it was extremely helpful because it gets you out doing things you ordinarily wouldn't think about doing. Like this week is carburetors. Okay.
Put that down for 1
all right.
hours.
Frank, that's one for our list.
Next week is, I don't know, wheelchairs, or, so you wind up photographing a lot of different things. And after 4 or 5 years of that, I said, what I really like is street photography. Well, actually, documentary photography, storytelling, and street photography. Because I found the most fascinating stories really happen on the streets amongst ordinary people doing ordinary things. So that's kind of what I specialize in now. And that's what led me to India. A little background about the trip I went on. It was with and through a group or a podcast, audio-only podcast that happens every week. It's called The Photo Walk. And it's headed up by a guy named Neil James, who I'd never met, but I did photo walks with him every week via this podcast. And I would recommend the podcast for anybody that particularly likes to hike, because the premise of the podcast is Neil walks his dog. I forget the dog's name, but the dog is always there. And he takes a walk and he talks about photography. And then interspersed, he actually interviews really world-class photographers and on a variety of topics, and you learn quite a bit. But the whole premise is take an hour walk, listen to this guy talk, and hear an interview with somebody really smart. So I recommend that. But my wife and I both listened to this, and one day he said, well, we're going to do a trip to India. And I've been to India 4 or 5 times, probably mostly on business, interviewing people that use SaaS software in India, banks and government and things like that. But I wanted to go by myself and just take pictures. So I sent Neil with the dog $5,000 or whatever it was and said, I'll be there. And it wound up being a great experience. I was one of 9 photographers, and the other photographers were, I think, 4 or 5 from the UK, including Scotland. One woman was Scottish, a guy from Germany, and 3 people from Australia, different cities in Australia. So, and one other American from Colorado. So it was a really great group. It was, without stepping on anybody's toes, it was 12 glorious days without Donald Trump in India. And it was a breath of fresh air. And we had 2 local guys, a guy named Shivam and a guy named Arvind, who live in Calcutta and do, if you look them up in what used to be the phone book, they'd be called fixers. And what they do is arrange, for things, for groups coming to India, particularly photographic groups. And the best part of the trip was these guys knew wonderful locations. You'd wake up in the morning and they'd park you in a place, and there was wonderful street things happening, and chosen by photographers. They knew what they were looking for. So I'll tell you about the stops we made, and I'll show pictures along the way. I won't have a lot to say about the pictures, so I'll depend on you if you have a question or a comment. Just speak right up, and we'll go from there. So we're not going in order of how we visited these places, but one of the places we went to was the railway station in Delhi. And for those of you that saw Indian movies, you picture the super busy railway stations. This one wasn't quite there. It's a secondary station. And we got there and they said, we're going to be on platform 2 and the train leaves in 45 minutes. So go out and take pictures of people waiting for the trains. Well, 4 hours later, a train showed up and we got on the train and we shot. But that gave us 4 hours to take lots of pictures. So here are some of the pictures that happened in that time frame. Let's see, I think I could probably do this. Yeah. She's waiting for a train.
Beautiful.
Yeah, obviously India, street photographers are all black and white snobs. But if you go to India and shoot black and white, I'd like to talk to you because the color is the show, really, to me.
Oh,
Is that on the train?
He's on the train leaving, yeah.
wondering who the heck you are.
Yep.
I hate to interrupt you. Do these people object to being photographed?
India is one of the strangest countries in the world that I've ever been to because they do not object. They kind of like it.
Okay.
And, everybody asks that question, and it's a good question. And you have to always be guarded about privacy and not invading someone's space. But people in India generally don't mind, and that's unusual, really, I think.
He looks bemused to me. He looks very kind of entertained by the fact that you chose him to
Yeah.
photograph. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing I'll say, and this is a good group to say it to, when I was younger, more people were concerned about what I'm doing, but I'm an old gray-haired man, and people are very forgiving. It's like, yeah, okay, you're gonna go, don't hurt
Forgiving
yourself.
or dismissive. That's how I feel.
Yeah,
Being dismissed. Yeah,
yeah.
it's good. I'm anonymous.
Oh, goodness.
The trains themselves were fascinating, but the people were spectacular.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
She's been waiting a long time.
That kid held up for 4 hours.
We actually had an assignment, which was, which they never followed up on. They started doing that at one point, and then they dropped it. But this was going to be urgency or nervousness or something. So she looked very anxious about who she was meeting or whatever. I'm a sucker for portraits like this, and I probably got 40 good ones out of this trip to India.
Oh, God, you wanna know that guy? I really
Yeah.
like that.
Oh,
I searched long and hard to find a young girl in a orange sweater with an orange splotch of paint on it. It took some doing.
Took some doing. Wow.
The waiting room.
what lenses did you carry with you?
One lens, it's a zoom, and you know, with street photographers, they do not like zooms at all. So they look at me askance for having a zoom. I guess it's like a 16 to 150 or something like
Short
that.
one.
But most of these shots, and usually I'm in the 80 millimeter range. But the darling of the street photographers right now is Fujifilm X106 is the camera, and it's got a fixed 32 millimeter lens. So it's designed for you to be right up on the action. And that's considered the noble thing to do because you're being honest. Telephotos make you kind of a snooper, or, you know, you're not, people might not be aware that they're being photographed.
What body Sony do you have?
I'll show you in a minute. I am such a non-techie person, very much the camera is incidental to the person behind it, but it's a 6400, I think, is Sony makes great cameras. It's a mirrorless camera, so it's all digital.
There's more than one in this group.
Yeah. I took 4,500 pictures on this trip.
4,500?
Yeah. The good news is I'm not going to share 4,500 pictures. We did get on the train, so this picture in particular was taken on the train. So that's it for the railway station sequence. A big highlight of the trip, and really one of the main reasons I went, is the Holi Festival. And we went to a town called Jodhpur, which is north, sort of, and it's on the fringe of the desert. It's a small town, probably 25 million, something like that. The numbers in India are unreal. You know, there's 1 billion people, I guess, that live there. But So people familiar with the Holly Festival? It has deeply religious significance, which are not being a-religious, that went past me a lot. Although as I think I told Tom, and I wrote a Substack article about the one picture I took that stuck with me with the Holly Festival was taken in a temple with people saying prayers to Krishna. But Holly is just a big festival welcoming spring. It's all about love and getting outdoors, and people come up to you with this powder, colored powder, and smear it on you. And it's just a wonderful human experience. So these are the pictures from that.
Question?
What's that?
I'm thinking about your 4,500 shots, okay?
Yeah.
And
Don't-
So I guess the wonderment I have is I mostly shoot birds.
Yeah,
And, here's a bird, you'll maybe shoot at 200 frames a minute,
yeah.
or a second, so it doesn't take long to get.
Oh, gotcha.
So I'm wondering, are you looking at individual shots, or do you, here's
Yeah.
a person, it's an interesting person, let me fire off a second's worth of what he's gonna do next? How do you approach that?
No, it's run and gun. And I never used burst on my camera. So they're individual shots. But if I saw an interesting person, I'll take a shot. And if they are there long enough and doing whatever they were doing, I'll take multiple shots. But
That's great.
They're each one chosen for, I wanna take a shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. And if we have time at the end, we can talk a little bit about style of shooting. And I think real good street photographers would probably not want to shoot 4,500 pictures. They'd be very intentional, but I'm not good enough. So
Oh, no.
I figure if I shoot 4,500, I'll get 2 or 3 good pictures.
It's cheaper than film.
Yeah, for sure. But one of the most endearing parts of Holly was the little kids like this guy who they all have water pistols and implements of spraying water. And they get such a kick out of finding adults, particularly old Americans, walking through the streets, and they're dying to just blast it. And I thought this kid's face was a perfect indication of that, like, take this. And then the kids are all splashing, and God only knows. You know how they tell you to be careful of the water in India? Good luck.
Was
But
that,
I love the photographer in the background there.
Yeah.
Is he one of your crew?
No, he wasn't, but
so it's really
At the top.
Yeah.
people up above watching.
oh, that's great.
Ooh. Too bad you didn't get a little color in that one.
Color.
Look at that guy with the red top there, I love that, with the red nose,
Yeah,
I love that guy.
Yeah.
these people were handing out street food too. It was pretty good.
He was posing.
I got the sense these people were from a village outside of
I
Jodhpur.
love the hand.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, wow.
and these women were doing some sort of a dance where they were in 2 lines, and the one line would come up and get right on top of the other line, and they'd laugh and giggle and be silly, and then they'd back up, and then this line would go toward the other, and I couldn't interpret it all, but they were having a great time. This little guy, I think, had enough, and he was going home. But I'm always intrigued by the sort of swastika up there in the corner.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
The what? Oh,
Well, it's,
But it's not,
it's a very old symbol. Yeah.
it is, yeah, and it's not
The Nazis
at all
stole it. The
related.
Nazis stole it from. Yeah.
Yeah.
well, that's terrific.
As best I could tell, this is a non-alcohol event too, so this is just human enthusiasm, not
not inebriation.
drug or,
It's like a frat party.
yeah.
Oh, my.
It's like a battle scene or something with that smoke.
Yeah, we would see people going to this from other tourists, and they'd say, well, I'm not planning to get any paint on. It's like, oh, okay, I'll see you in about an hour.
Look at that one with that bottle of compressed air.
Yeah, see where it's
That's
coming
just
from.
right there. Look at the guy on the motorcycle too.
A whole bunch of motorcyclists.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they are all. Oh, yeah.
Why don't we do this?
I have,
Face balloon.
not a serious case, but I guess I'm technically have COPD, and breathing was kind of interesting. I didn't really have any problems, but I was very concerned about it. That mask would have come in handy.
Escalation.
And this is the only picture in the group I didn't take, because obviously I'm in it.
Oh,
And that was near the end of the day. And this was kind of fun, because this was this bunch of kids here, and they said, hey, let me take your camera and take some pictures. And I said, okay, go ahead.
Last you saw of him.
The local guy, Shivam, came up and said, well, you gave him your camera? And I said, yeah, it'd be all right.
And where did you get the garments?
That was fun too. Our whole group bought the traditional white garments, the top and pants, and it was fun going shopping. That was the previous day, and it was pretty hilarious.
That's cool.
So that was Holly. What time is our meeting usually over? 12:30?
12:30,
Something
12:45.
whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
We're easy.
All right. So probably I would say one of the most moving parts of the trip for me actually happened at this mosque, because we were there. It was a Sunday afternoon, and it's during Ramadan. And so they said, well, we're going to go to a mosque and take pictures there. And as we were going over, they said, well, it is Ramadan. And so what happens is, this is one of the biggest mosques in Delhi. And there were, when we got there, hundreds of people. And by the time we left, it was thousands, close to 7,000, 8,000 people in the courtyard of the mosque. And they had been fasting all day. And you're probably familiar with it, but the way they fast is that as sun comes up, they have to stop eating. They have to stop drinking, including water. And in fact, they are not technically allowed to swallow their own saliva. Yes, it's strict. So you're with 5 or 6,000 people who haven't eaten since sunup. And the idea is that at 6:21 p.m., Indian Standard Time, or whatever it was, they have their call to prayer, and at that point, everybody can eat. And the people gather together in this huge mosque courtyard, and they share a meal, a big meal. So we got there, it was 4 o'clock, as I said. It was bright sunshine, there wasn't any shade, and it was probably, I think, 30 or 32 degrees, so 90 plus degrees temperature. And these people waited patiently to share their meal together. So you'll see the pictures that I wound up taking. This is when we got there. Welcome to the mosque, and
Look kind of serious.
yeah, it did. But they were just beautiful people. You know, if you like taking pictures of people, you can go crazy here.
Whoa, Air Jordans.
Yeah.
I forget, were the men and the women separated there at the mosque?
Yeah, we'll see that. They weren't separated in the courtyard, but
Inside.
yeah, it was all families and old people and young people, as you can see. And this was a big fountain area with holy, blessed water that they would splash on themselves. Wouldn't you love to have eyes like that?
Oh, wow.
What's the Muslim population of India?
I don't know numbers wise, but it's kind of split between Muslim and Hindu.
I thought they all went to Pakistan.
Yeah, no, and strangely, I didn't detect a lot of tension, although the tension is supposed to be notorious with the Hindus up on top, I guess, but I didn't particularly sense any blatant racism toward Muslims.
Nice reflection.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And that's not with a long lens.
No, like I said, I have a telephoto, but I'd usually in the
80.
60 to 80.
It's beautiful.
That guy looks like he's drinking.
Yeah, he might be.
Yeah, you just spit slower.
Like I said, it was hot. So.
Oh,
Tom and I were talking, people in India, when you take their picture, you know, in the US, it's all about, oh, you're gonna take my picture? You know, and in India, it's, you wanna take my picture? Okay. And they just look at you. They have no agenda. They're not interested in branding. It's, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful designs in the cloth.
This just looked like the Pieta to me.
Yeah, it does.
Kid wants to eat desperately.
Yeah, I could be.
I can't go on.
if I can't eat, I'm just gonna sleep.
And this was, at one point, men all went to the temple, and the women are not allowed to go to the temple. But they just knelt there and said some prayers. And I guess this was right at the bewitching hour, so they did the call to prayer. People did a quick visit, and then the meal began, so we'll see that now. And you'll notice here, it's all men together. And these would probably be people that just went solo. And so they separate men and women. But this was kind of, I got the sense these were people who were there unattached. But this would be more of a typical family, and men and women are together.
Look at the peace sign.
Yeah. They brought their own food, obviously, back in these, this was if you didn't bring food, you got fruit, nice, healthy meal.
Great expression on her face.
Yeah,
The eyes in all of these, the eyes have it.
yep, absolutely. And there, as I said, by this point, there was, I think, 6,000 or 7,000 people there. And the highlight for me was, we were supposed to meet at 7 o'clock or something after the meal. And so I was, after I took this picture, I think, walking over, and all of a sudden this young guy, probably 25 years old or something, tapped me on the shoulder and in practiced English said, "Would you please come eat with us?" And so, you know, yeah, where are you? So I went over and sat down with them, and they gave me hummus and fruit, and it was just really touching and very welcoming. And I wrote a Substack article about this, just all the nasty, hateful things that are said about Muslim people in this country. Boy, if you were there, you would not be thinking hateful at all.
Now, you got such great colors in there. Did you increase the saturation at all? or
You know,
pretty
on
much
that,
that's what you shot?
on that particular picture, yes,
Okay.
there's quite a bit of processing going on.
It's like high contrast too.
Yeah, yeah.
Bill, I'm sorry, I gotta leave early.
Oh, sure. Yeah, nice to
Will
see
you
you.
share, will you share your Substack?
Sure, sure. Yeah, I'll send
Yeah,
it.
I'll take it for you.
All right, Andrew. see
Thank you all.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, this one's heavily
Yeah, the
processed,
colors are just,
but a lot of them are just,
Yeah, the light on that building is
Yeah.
awesome, and the
Yeah.
clouds behind it.
and reflecting off those clouds in the back,
Yeah.
not left there.
well, and it was pretty much like that. It was
Yeah.
sunset. It was just a beautiful scene.
Yeah, golden light.
All right, you can't go to India without going to the Taj Mahal. It's spectacular. Unfortunately, well, for me, I'd been there 3 or 4 times, and so the shock of being there wasn't quite the same. But every time you go there, it's just a beautiful place, and it's a testament, a structure built for love, since if you know the story, it was, I guess his wife, or I think it was his mistress, actually, at any rate. So I didn't take a lot of pictures of the Taj Mahal itself, but the one thing I always wanted to do was to go the other side of the river and look back at the Taj Mahal. So a big feature of this trip was we would go across the river around sunset and be able to photograph from there. So most of the pictures I took are of that. But this is one. You'll notice something odd about this. There are no people. And at the crop line, just below were 4,000 heads of people going into the Taj Mahal. So I was able to try to shoot around it.
Oh, my.
That's the customary killer shot, I guess.
Money shot.
Yeah, yeah,
These flowers, colors.
yeah. It's a magnificent place, it really is. And this woman was doing this, and I felt like I should pay her, but she was just doing it, so. Probably trying to stay cool, because it was, again, very warm.
When you were there, did you offer them any money for the?
You know, I didn't,
pose, or-
but I suspect the two fixers were kind of, if anybody was looking around, they'd go slip them
Yeah.
a few rupees or something.
I remember in Cuba, they expected it.
Yeah,
Yeah, they almost negotiated with you. And you
Yeah.
said, "I'm gonna take a picture."
you know, some people, if I did ask, and sometimes I did, can I take your picture? And they'd say, well, they'd hold their hand out, and I said, well, no, that's okay.
Love the colors.
Yeah.
Oh, the,
Look at the blocks.
Yeah, I love this perspective of the Taj Mahal.
yeah.
This was another woman on the trip. These guys, I was photographing them, and they came over and handed me the bat and said, go ahead. And cricket's hard. But I finally did hit one. They said, well, thank God, get you out of here.
That's nice lighting on that.
Yeah, like I said, I was really looking forward to going across the river to be able to shoot without all the people. You can kind of see the heads
Yeah.
over at the Taj Mahal itself.
Gives you some perspective on the size.
And these were young teenagers who, they asked, will you take our picture? And I think they see Americans in particular, and they want their picture taken knowing that we're gonna come back and put it on Instagram, and they'll be able to, and they ask, how can I see it? And so that I get your Instagram account. And then they get to
interesting.
tell their friends, yeah, I'm famous in America or Australia.
So did that work?
Yeah,
These guys are looking at it?
what do
Can these guys see this?
yeah,
Oh, okay, I don't know how Instagram works.
yeah, yeah. And
If they have an account and follow you.
I'm following that guy, I think his name was Siad or something,
That's great.
and he posts pictures of himself all the time. He's working on his brand,
He's branding.
yeah.
Oh.
Bill, were you photographing with your whole group?
No, in fact, it's kind of funny. My wife, we had a WhatsApp account for our group, and so Lori she was following it, and like probably 10 times out of the trip, it's, where's Bill? And she'd get panicked because, you know, she was worried about me. And it's, where's Bill? And I made a point of just wandering. And most of the photographers did.
Yeah.
People were serious about it.
Anybody miss the bus?
No, I came close. I was the only one that was in jeopardy there.
Love the light on that one.
So now we're going to go to a market in Jodhpur, and this is actually the place where Holi happened the next day. But this was kind of a street market. I didn't see a lot of vegetables and stuff, but we got there early. We got there very early in the morning, and people were setting up. So it's not a typical market thing, but
The blue.
Yeah.
Colors are just so exquisite.
they are. This is one of my favorite pictures of the trip.
You wanna know that guy?
Yeah, this was the entrance to the market.
Him too.
Yeah. This guy let me take his picture all the way through this cigarette lighting and while he had a smoke. And this is a chai stand. So this is the Indian equivalent of Starbucks. So you go there in the morning and get your chai and sit down and read the paper or whatever. And it's just, open air. And as a street photographer, when I got home, I said, I'm going to do a sequence of morning at the chai shop. And I realized you can't do that retroactively. So I'm actually going back with the same group next March. And one of the things I intend to do is to spend the morning at a chai stand and do a little story about it. The kids are just great in India. They're just crazy. And this is kind of interesting because that's dung. And I wasn't quite sure why they were selling dung, but it is for fuel. But particularly, this was the afternoon or the morning, the day before Holi, and every small village has a big fire the night before. I guess as the moon comes out on Holi day, and they burn that dung, and then I don't have them here, but there are big trees, dead trees that they sell to the villagers so they can have their fire. That was, I don't have pictures of that, but we had a great time that night at the fire in our neighborhood.
Were you hounded by urchins begging?
Previous trips, there was a lot of that, but I didn't see as much of it this time for some reason. And that's something my wife and I went a few years ago, and it destroyed a lot of the trip for her because she didn't like people asking, that the poverty's pretty obvious. Okay. The next sequence at the Yamuna, which is the river, the second biggest river, I guess, in India. We got up at 4:30 and got on our little van and went to this river. And I wasn't quite sure what we were doing there, but come to find out, there was going to be boats where they would be feeding birds, and people would be out on these boats. And it was also a wrestling school for young wrestlers that do, I forget the form of wrestling, but it's the historic, old Indian wrestling, mud wrestling, basically. So it was a training camp for these kids. So you'll see the mix of photos from here. when we got there, it was just,
Well,
just before sunrise. And, just wonderful pastoral scene of all
Was
these
he
birds.
feeding them?
Yeah, you can see the bag of food
That's what I
there.
thought.
I think I would have been wearing a hat.
Yeah. Well, this was kind of at the peak of people talking about bird flu around here. And,
How about what about the softness, what is that softness to it?
it's just, it might be poor focus.
No,
Morning light.
that tip of the boat, that
Yeah.
line is perfectly.
Yeah, it was just the light. It was, the light was just magical, spectacular.
Why did the protest, just for seeing them?
I couldn't tell exactly. I think part of it might be for tourists, but there weren't any tourists there except our group.
Oh,
But the water, like all rivers, the water's sacred, and it's a place that you'll see. This woman was there, praying, also selling stuff for the people to feed birds. But she was there praying and worshiping. And it was a wonderful place to do that because it was so beautiful. This was one of the altars that was just tucked away there. And then this is one of the young wrestlers getting ready to practice. And this guy was pretty fascinating. He's a 81-year-old, we found out, and he runs the wrestling camp. So he lives there, and he was getting up and brushing his teeth in the morning.
Oh, okay.
I think it's Oral B. And this is the mud wrestling pit where the guys do their thing.
Wow.
Doorways are great.
Yeah,
Great
yeah.
framing.
You have any idea why mud wrestling? If
I-
I pick out something to do that would not be very high on my list of things that I'd want to sign.
No. As with most things in India, it's, I don't know, but
It's probably softer than hard dirt.
yeah. One of the guys on the trip just kept repeating, don't try to understand it, just appreciate it. And that's good words of advice for India. That's one of my other favorite shots of
Yeah,
that.
that is. First cup in the morning.
How close were you, like, when you were photographing? I know a lot of your,
Yeah.
it looks like you're really close.
Again, it's about the same, I'm gonna say I was probably 10, 12 feet from him. But, as you can see, he was in his world there. He was in a deeply meditative state, and he didn't care what I was doing. I think he's used to being photographed too.
Yeah.
We chose that yellow shirt to stand in front of that yellow.
Yeah. He probably did. Oh, they'll love this.
His age.
Yeah. It's just young couples that come there and get a boat, go out, feed some birds. And
Phone in hand.
yeah, this was the other side of where the river was. There was a small village, and we went through. This woman lived in that village, and we had a cup of chai and some food, some Indian street food stuff. I didn't get sick, nobody in our group. I guess one guy got sick one night, but it was surprising to everybody. Nobody got deli belly, as they say. Let's see, and now I think this is the last group of pictures. This is in Old Delhi, the oldest part of the city, and it's the kind of a market. I wrote another Substack article about my experience here. The neighborhood was, the area was, there were a lot of poor people here, but it transitions from early morning, we were there early morning again, into a market where a lot of people come, and gets very busy later in the day. But when you get there, it's a little like, there were people waking up that obviously sleep there, and there were, I said a lot of rodents. When I wrote the article, Lori, my wife, said, call them rats. I mean, because they were big rats, but, you know, it's just a poor, really poor part of the city. But I guess this picture is called Blue. This guy's waiting to give somebody a ride. That's kind of what the neighborhood kind of looked like, but the buildings were beautiful, if you like.
Electrician's nightmare.
Yeah.
Was that a little coffee stand or food stand down there
Looks like
in the center?
Yeah, hot dogs.
No,
That's a tuk-tuk,
well, it's a
isn't it?
tuk-tuk. I think it's just a
It's a
tuk-tuk.
tuk-tuk.
Yeah,
That's a means of conveyance.
yeah,
There
yeah,
are video cameras up there in that post.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me, yeah. It's funny because Delhi, or India generally, appears to be very poor, but the technology infrastructure is,
Under there.
yeah.
There's a picture of it too.
There's a close-up of the truck.
So it took a little while to get your bearings, but once you did, there was great photos to be had. This is an example of just, when I got back, I didn't realize there was another person sleeping behind me, but waking up,
Looks like everybody smokes.
yep.
Yeah.
He's given a few rides in that tuk-tuk, I think.
Yeah.
It's funny, you asked earlier about sequences, and I took this picture, but I took 3 others, and I thought he was gonna kill me here, and the next picture, he had a big smile on his face, like. You can see things are starting to pick up here now.
Getting busier.
I love this picture, I love the cane. This guy, yeah.
Three aboard.
Perfect lineup of the 3.
Yeah, yeah,
Looks like he's driving.
Yeah.
I think he is.
Yeah.
A morning stretch.
Dinner.
Yeah. Next time we're having chicken tikka masala. Tom and I have talked about this picture. I believe this is a family, because I think those are people sleeping.
Yeah, right.
Wake up,
Something going on there.
yeah.
Can you crop it, Bill?
Can I hear?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
not, this is just,
So, what we looked at together was that woman with the black shawl.
yeah,
And her hand and that guy right underneath.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
what's going on?
Right.
I couldn't tell on this. I think this might have been a laundry.
Yeah, it looks like a
Okay.
spigot and a buck.
But also it looks like this might be where they bathe, so.
Yeah, right, both.
You can see the water dripping off of the, whatever that piece of clothing is he's holding.
Yeah,
Oh,
but yeah, I'm thinking it was
Yeah.
a laundry. Drop your clothes off.
Such expressions on their faces.
Yeah,
Duke. Oh, maybe it's
It's
Nike.
No, it's like, wrong color for Duke.
Yeah.
yeah.
Barber.
And this was open air, it wasn't a shop. And this is my favorite picture of that trip. And I think that's it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Bill, you said that was in 2019?
No,
Oh,
the trip was March of this year,
this year? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, wow.
yeah. So,
I had just a brief question, not too technical, but how do you usually shoot, in aperture or full manual or?
I often just shoot automatic,
Yeah.
because,
Yeah, it's happening
things
so
just
fast.
happen, it's like
Yeah.
turn and boom,
You
shoot.
know, your camera in the way, you just wanna.
Yeah. And I do have my camera set up, so that if I'm in aperture mode, I always go there for black and white. And I have the camera set up so if I go to aperture mode, I see the image black and white, and I'll generally, I shoot raw, so it can be color, but I use aperture mode most often for black and white and particularly low light situations. So, but in automatic mode, I see the image in color. And as a street photographer, this is the camera I use.
Okay.
And if you look at it, if I pass it around and you looked at it, there's still pink paint in
I
there.
was wondering if you got any paint.
Yeah, but this is a key for the street photographer, so that, you can shoot like this.
Like from the waist instead of.
True.
Yeah, and I use this all the time,
Yeah.
to see. But that comes in real handy.
Yeah.
I do have some tips for shooting. Mike said you might be interested in tips and tricks or something, and I do have some tips for shooting street photography, if you're interested.
Sure.
Let's see. Guess I gotta reshare.
Oh, good. I just wanted to see if Lynn made a smell. She's good.
There you go.
Let's see. So, this was just from a course I taught in Ollie. This was a segment about street photography, so I told this class, and this is what I was thinking a year ago, that there are different forms of street photography: spontaneous, let it happen, get it as it comes, or purposeful, where you may have like, if I do street photography for a chai shop in India next time, that'll be purposeful, because I'm going out to get something specific. Street portraits, obviously I love doing street portraits, and then artistic, which is what Tom does when he goes out for street photography. The spontaneous versus purposeful is the notorious issue between hunters and fishers, where the fishers go out and throw their line in and hope they catch something. That'd be me. Purposeful would be, here's a beautiful shaft of light with a silhouette background. I'm gonna wait for an interesting person to walk through and take their picture. So that's more a hunter, and the fisher just throws his line and catches what he or she can. So here's some tips. They're pretty intuitive, but might come in handy. So blend in, be part of the scene, capture the scene without disrupting it. Most street photographers are going to dress in dark clothes, and you don't want to draw attention to yourself. Just kind of blend in. Observe the light. Light is key. Look for interesting light that's going to be there for your subject and help with the background. As I said, most true photographers, street photographers, opt for a fixed prism prime lens, somewhere in that 35 millimeter lens. A fixed lens is what a lot of street photographers migrate toward. Be patient, observe your location, wait for the decisive moment. This is the Cartier-Bresson school of decisive momentness. This is a very poor quality picture or version of one of Valerie Jardin's pictures, where she used that hand or railing going into the subway tunnel to draw people into the moment. She would probably not be happy with me showing this poor quality version of her picture. Get close. If you want to show intimacy, it's hard to show from afar. Capture emotions. And this is the thing I always look for, is what's the emotional moment, and can you anticipate it? And it's actually my wife Lori and my grandson Liam taking his first train ride. So experiment with angles. It's amazing. Turn a regular Irish pub shot into something that really pulls you in more so than just standing up and shooting it. Gets harder to do as you get older, though, getting down on the ground. So this is the idea of burst mode, which I don't do a lot, but if you're shooting motion, it can come in pretty handy. I'm a big believer in this, and Valerie Jardin, who Tom mentioned, I've done a couple of courses with her. This is her big rule of thumb is to be respectful and never show someone in a compromised position and stick a camera in somebody's face if they don't want to. And the warning of photographing children, which particularly in the US is very tricky. This talks about the rhythm of shooting street photography, and it is like a ballet. Like street photographers talk about their walk, which is slow, and you need to slow down and take time to observe what's going on. And like when we were in Old Delhi there, the key was start taking pictures right away. Because once you get in that rhythm of taking pictures, you're not going to be thinking about the background, or you're not going to be thinking about, I wonder if this is a safe place to be or whatever. Just start snapping away and you get in the rhythm. Take plenty of pictures. 4,500 is a bit excessive, but when you get home, you're always going to be thinking about, I wish I had this different angle of that or something. Always be ready. So as I said, having a flip viewfinder on the camera can really help with that. So that you don't have to be like this all the time, that you're ready to snap a picture. This is a quote from actually Valerie Street Photography. It's about a decisive moment and pure emotion. It's not about perfection. We don't need to go into that, but these are just photographers that I like. That's Diane Arbus.
Oh, yeah, I recognize that.
These are local photographers that I like.
Jess and Jack.
Elizabeth and John are very local. Elizabeth's in Hillsborough, and John is in Chapel Hill. And your assignment will be. Well, thank you.
Thank you again.
We did go over it. Sorry.
That's okay.
So how do you find your Substack without getting to tell people?
How do you what?
Find your Substack.
The subtext?
Yes.
Substack.
Oh, yeah, probably I'll send it to Mike and Tom, and then they'll send it around. But if you have a Substack account, just look for Bill Marriott.
Yeah, kept finding the hotel people.
Yeah, no, he hasn't found that yet, so you're safe. I think it's just Bill Marriott. And I've just started Substack, but as I said, I'm interested in storytelling, and I thought when I started doing photography, I'd be able to tell stories with pictures. That's very hard to do. And I've not been very good at it, but I found with Substack, you can, and I've really started to believe that you shouldn't tell a story with a photo. You should put the photo out there and people will tell their own story, which is better than me trying to say, hey, this is what you ought to be thinking. And that does happen with photographs. But Substack's a great way to be able to take photos that mean something specific to you and write a little bit about it, because then you can explain the context of the photo.
Well, we've been videoing, and I'm going to stop that process, but if you're interested in what we've done, go to YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
The YouTube channel is Chatham InFocus.
Okay.
Chatham
Thanks.
InFocus.
Yep, thanks, Bill.
Well, thank you.